guys, Reed Sports. We're now back with once again another video, and today we are going to, what is up guys, Reed Sports. We're now back with once again another video, and today I will be covering the NBA playoff predictions. If you see the Warriors against the Jazz, it's because I predict the Warriors are going to beat the Grizzlies in a close game and cover the spread. So we're gonna do Eastern Conference and Western Conference and work ourselves all the way up to the NBA Finals. So let's get it. Okay, the first series is the Utah Jazz versus the Golden State Warriors. I think that if the Utah Jazz have Donovan Mitchell in, it can mess up the rotation maybe a little bit, and I think the chemistry is going to be a little off. But I'm going to have to pick the Jazz in 6 games. Now, this is a hot take because I think Steph Curry will light the Jazz on fire for at least 2 or 3 games. But even though Curry can average 38 a game, 40 a game in this series, I do think that the Utah Jazz are the stronger team by a little bit. So I am going to pick the Utah Jazz to win this series. I think that the Warriors, they keep it close, and then the Utah Jazz, they just absolutely blow them out. Hold on. So this is not going to 7. They'll get 1. It's going to be like that. Jazz in 6. Our next series is Mavericks Clippers, and this is a phenomenal series. First of all, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard versus Kristaps Porzingis and the man, the myth, the legend, Luka Doncic. I think that Doncic will average a 25-point triple-double, at least maybe a 30-point triple-double. But I think that because the Clippers have a little more playoff experience, I think they should win this series. I think it's going to be a very good series. I think that playoff P will show in some games, but I also think that playoff or regular season Paul is going to be on fire. I think that he's going to average at least 23 a game. I think Kawhi is going to go off on this pretty bad Mavericks defense, and I think that the Mavericks all around just won't be able to outscore the Clippers. So I'm going to take the Clippers in 6 games over the Dallas Mavericks. I think that the Clippers, they're just a little bit better on the defensive end or much better on the defensive end and are a good offensive team, solid. Okay, this is a very good series, Nuggets Blazers. I think that this is going to it's going to go to 7 at least. But this is a hot take. I think that because Jamal Murray is out, the Blazers will win this series. Now, I think this because Jokic cannot do everything by himself. He has Michael Porter Jr. around him. But another problem is he used to have Jeremy Grant around him, but now he's off. And with Jamal Murray out for the remainder of the season, I think it's going to be very tough for the Nuggets to outscore the Trailblazers. I think that the Nuggets will score a reasonable amount of points, maybe 120 a game in this series, but I think the Blazers will average 125 a game. I think that the Blazers are a great story, and I think the Nuggets are a great story, but it's unfortunate that the Nuggets lost Jamal Murray to a torn ACL earlier this season. In that case, I think that the Trailblazers will win this in 7 games. The final series is the Suns and the Lakers. Now, this is it's going to be an interesting series. I think that both teams are incredible on the defensive and offensive end. You got LeBron James and Anthony Davis on one end, and Chris Paul and Devin Booker on another end. Now, I think that this is going to be a good series once again, but my only issue is that LeBron, his high ankle sprain, will that affect him? He went down against the Indiana Pacers a few days ago and held his ankle. I don't think that will be an issue for him, but I think that it could affect the way the Lakers play. Now, speaking of how the Lakers play, I think that they are going to play awesome in the series. I do not think they are going to blow the Suns out. I don't think they are going to win this in 5, 6. I think they're going to win this in 7. I think this is going to be a very well-rounded series. Unfortunately for Suns fans, when you have to play LeBron James in the playoffs, it's not going to go your way. So I think that the LA Lakers upset the number 2 seeded Phoenix Suns. Alright, now our next, we're heading over to the Eastern Conference where we have the Philadelphia 76ers and the Washington Wizards. I don't think this will be a close series. I think that Philly should lock down on Russ and Bradley Beal. I think that Russ and Bradley Beal maybe will steal 1 game, but honestly, the Sixers, they're just probably the best defensive team in the NBA, and a top 10 offense probably. I think that this should go to in 5 or 4 games. I think that the Wizards steal one of those games, but this is a pretty quick series. Now, the best series possibly in the playoffs first round. I think that this is going to be an incredible series between the Atlanta Hawks and the New York Knicks. Both franchises have not been in the playoffs for pretty long. The Knicks, of course, haven't been to the playoffs in like 20 years. I think that Julius Randle will play awesome, and I think that Trae Young, he will be beat up in the series. He will score a lot of points, but he will also, I think he'll go down to an injury possibly. I really hope this doesn't, but this Knicks team plays very physical. They don't like other opponents definitely. I think that this is a physical series, and I think that because the Knicks are just a little bit better on the defensive end, the Knicks are gonna win this in 7 games. I think that totally the Hawks could definitely win this series. No disrespect to Trae Young, John Collins, Capella, but unfortunately the Knicks are just a little bit better on the defensive end. But I think the Hawks are better on the offensive end. But it's really going to come down to Game 7, and I think that the Knicks are really they're gonna have to play very good defense in the final 2 minutes because I think it's gonna come down to the final 2 or 3 minutes in this series. Now I think this is the best series in the playoffs. Knicks and Hawks and Blazers and Nuggets. I think that this is going to be an absolutely outstanding series. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo versus Jrue Holiday and Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think that this is going to be a very good series. I think it could be a bad series also. I think that the Heat could lock down on Giannis because obviously they have Bam Adebayo, who feels very disrespected that he was not voted on the Defensive Player of the Year. He was not a finalist. I think that this should be a physical series, very physical. Heat and Bucks, they play very physical. The Heat won 2 times, or the Bucks won 2 times out of the 3 times they played. But I do think that the Bucks they're just a little bit better on the offensive end and better on the defensive end, and I think that the Bucks should be I think that the Bucks should be able to win this in, I'm gonna say 6 games. I think the Heat tie it up, but the Bucks, they're just a little bit too much for the Miami Heat at the end. Nets and Celtics is gonna be a quick series. I think that the Celtics, they're a good story, but without Jaylen Brown and possibly Kemba Walker, it's gonna be tough for them to beat the Nets. I think Tatum will have maybe 55-point games, but I do think that the Nets are just a little bit better on the offensive end. And I know they suck at the defensive end, so I mean that could free space for Kemba Walker and Jason Tatum. So I'm gonna pick the Nets in 5 games. I think that the Celtics, they will keep it close for all games, but the Nets, they're just gonna be a little too much in the end. All right, next games. Jazz Clippers. This should be an interesting series. I do not think the Jazz are a true number 1 seed. The way they played the last 4 weeks, they were just not a good team without Donovan Mitchell. What were they, like 8-6? It's not very good for a team that was 27-9 at one point and 26-5 at one point. I think the Clippers should win this in 6 games. I'm not picking against Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. It's just you can't do that. Yeah. This is a good series, Lakers Blazers, but I do have the Lakers win this in 6 games. The Blazers, a great story, good on the offensive end. They have 2 of the best point guards in the league with CJ McCollum and Dame, but I think that the Lakers defense is gonna lock down on Dame. I think that the Blazers, they will take this to 7 games. I think they will take this to 7 games. Or no, 6 games. There's no way they're going to take the Lakers to the 7 games. I think that this should be a fairly quick series. Or, not a quick series, but it's going to be an interesting series. Alright, we're heading on to the Eastern Conference, and we have the Sixers and the Knicks. The Knicks don't have playoff experience. The Sixers do. The Sixers have one of the best defenses in the league. I think the Sixers should make very quick work. I'm going to pick them in 5 games. There's not much to say about this. And the next series is the Bucks and the Nets. I do think that the Big 3 not end here. I think that the Big 3 will play very good. I think they might average 130 points a game in this series. The Bucks, they have a good defense, but I don't think they will be able to stop KD, Kyrie, and James Harden, who have many years of playoff experience on them. I think the Nets win this in 6 games. I think that the Nets are just a little bit too overpowering for the Bucks team, who is not a very good playoff team, and I think that Mike Budenholzer eventually gets fired. Alright, heading on to the conference finals, which I think everyone did not expect in the beginning of the year. Everyone expected like Lakers and like maybe Nuggets or something. Everyone expected the Clippers to be bad or not as good as they were. This is an interesting series. I think the Lakers and Clippers, this is going to be a great series. We didn't get it last year because the Clippers absolutely sucked in the final 4 games of the Nuggets series, and they lost in 7 because, well, Playoff P came out in that final game, and they were up by 13 points and then lost by 25 points. So I don't think that the Clippers will be able to beat the Lakers at all. They will not contain LeBron. This should be a fairly quick series. I think the Lakers win this in 6 games. Unfortunately, it's the end of the road for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and I think they get separated. These are common Sixers and Nets. This is going to be a very good series. This will be probably the best series, and it's going to have some of the best games of the year. The only problem I have with the Nets is they're going to score a lot of points, but I don't think they can hold a lot of points. I think that they're going to score a lot of points, but they're not going to be able to. They're going to be able to keep up with the Sixers fine, but the Sixers defense is so darn good that I think that the Sixers are going to win this series. I think that the Big Three experiment is going to have to split up. I think this because, first of all, the Sixers locked down on teams like the Lakers. They locked down on the Clippers without Ben Simmons, one of the best defenders in the league, in my opinion, the defensive player of the year. And also, they locked up on high-scoring teams like the Hawks, and they absolutely demolished the Kings, who have a good attack with De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield, even though that's not saying much. I think the Sixers will win this in 7 games, and I think they will move on to play the Lakers in the finals. I think this will be a fairly good series, but the Sixers, they're just a little bit better on the offensive end. No. Hold it. Wait a minute. The Nets are significantly better on the offensive end. I think that they are easily top 3 offense, while the Sixers are probably top 10 offense at least. But the Sixers, where it comes down to is the defense, and the Sixers' defense is absolutely outstanding. I think they'll win this in 7 games. Go to the finals. I want this to happen so darn bad as a big Sixers fan. I think that this is going to be an outstanding series. The problem is the Lakers' health. Will LeBron be worn out? It is playoff LeBron James. And another thing I have to say, Sixers are a much better team than the Heat were in the finals last year. That is a hot take. But, when you got LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the team, it's hard to pick against them. But with the Sixers defense, they will be able to steal 3 games, at least. I think, this is a hot take, haters are going to hate in the comments, but the Sixers are going to win the NBA championship this year. They're going the offensive end, the defensive end. And the other finals I have is the Bucks and the Lakers. The Clippers and the Nets. The Suns and the Sixers. It could be either one of these teams. But ultimately, the Sixers played much better in the regular season, even though with the Lakers out with injuries and the Sixers out with Joel Embiid for most of the season. I think that the Sixers are just a better team, and I think that they win this in 7 games. Unfortunately, Lakers fans, you do not get a second straight title. That's it. These are my playoff predictions. If you don't like them, you don't like them. But I think this is going to happen, and I think that there's a good chance of it happening. The only series I'll have to flip is probably this Bucks-Nets series. I don't know. The Nets defense is really bad, and the Bucks offense is really good. But yeah. Hope you liked it. Please like and subscribe. If you didn't like it, add a comment. Post your predictions down below. Yeah. I'll see you next time, and we're going to preview a bunch of series.